Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. This show is designed to highlight the work of leaders here in the United States and then beyond. Today with us, Brenda Simmons, and Brenda is the Executive Director and founder of the Southampton African-American Museum. Let's all welcome Brenda Simmons. And Brenda, it is a great delight to have you back on Successful Philanthropy. And I want to first start by asking you about the history of the museum.
First, I want to thank you, as always, Jean, for inviting me and promoting the Southampton African-American Museum. I have to always say, I just really appreciate how you help us in so many ways in promoting the Southampton African-American Museum. The African-American Museum started really because I want to leave a legacy for our community. The barbershop was in the community since the late 40s. Emmanuel Seymour came through the Great Migration. He purchased property in Southampton and built this building as a barbershop and a beauty parlor. And I was born and raised in Southampton, and my auntie was a beautician there. And I used to go there, answer the phones for her, and write appointments down for her. So the building is very, very intimate for me. And fast forward, a letter came across the mayor's desk to tear the building down. And so I was able to advocate and able to find a legislation that was in the village laws as a, I was also the recording secretary. So that's what I found out, that they had a law stating that how you can historically designate a building. And the part that I pulled out was, it was significant to the community. As you know, barbershops are very significant to the community. It was a gathering place. It was like the gathering place and the community center for the Blacks during that time. And so it was very significant. So we're able to historically designate the building. I was able to find a juke joint singer and a juke joint band leader who I interviewed. And I had to bring that information before the Architect Review Board. And that's how I was able to get the Southampton African-American Museum historically designated in the village of Southampton. And I just want to add real quick before, is also the first Black barbershop to be transformed into a museum in the country. So very, very proud of that. It took me about 16 years to do this. I was very compassionate what to do, but I had to find out how to do this, getting the 501c3, all the other things that had to happen. And in between that, we had so many ups and downs and hills and valleys to go over and come above. And that had to do with getting a new contractor, COVID hit. So with so many things that happened, but thank God we were able to open up Juneteenth, 2021.
Now, you said 16 years. Was there resistance in the community, or was it just tough to get contractors and an architect and the money? Museums take money to build.
Well, first of all, I have to say that, yes, I have to say that it was a little pushback. When the building was first purchased by the Community Preservation Fund for the town, the director at the time called me and said to me that she was getting phone calls asking why the town purchased that building. And unfortunately, at the time, the building had been sitting there for a bit. And it was considered an eyesore to the village of Southampton. So that was where we had to kind of slow things down. But in that process, I kept moving forward. I did have support from the town, but it was a little bit of a challenge, but I kept going forward.
And now the museum is a beautiful place. It's the opposite of an eyesore. It's quite beautiful, thanks to your efforts and the efforts of your board, and with the help of the town of Southampton and its residents. You grew up in Southampton a number of years ago, and you once spoke about life as a woman of color in Southampton, and how was it growing up in Southampton?
I have to share, it was very interesting growing up in Southampton. When you're young, you really don't know really all what's going on. But I do remember my mom and my dad came through the Great Migration. They came from the South and came to Southampton. And I didn't understand at first, but they kept telling us they didn't want us to go down Jones Lane. And I didn't understand why. And then one evening when I was a teenager in high school, a group of us decided to drive down Joe's Lane to find out what's the deal. So we drive down and we see the mannequins all dressed up in their, beautiful outfits and et cetera. And we go down and we make a left to go down Main Street. And a white gentleman stopped us and asked us what were you N-words doing here? And so at that very, very moment, Jean, I knew that that's why my mom and my dad didn't want us to come down there, because they didn't want us to be exposed to anything like that. But I had no idea, no clue, because in high school, pretty much, it was during the civil rights movement when things were kind of coming together. But I have to say, we did have a sit out, because we wanted a Black Studies class and a Black Studies teacher, and we didn't have those. So we did a sit out. And I have to say there were some of my white classmates that sat out with us to support us. And we did get a Black Studies teacher and a Black Studies class. So overall, growing up in Southampton, as I was younger, like I said, I didn't really understand everything that I understood as I've gotten older. But overall, it was a great place to raise my children. And I still have I have a home there, and I still reside there 6 months out of the year.
Very nice. And I'm sorry you had to go through that terrible experience, and that should never happen to anyone, anywhere. And things have truly changed. But unfortunately, bad things do happen, and things do happen like that. But again, it should have never happened. And I know today Southampton is for everybody, and we welcome the museum. It's a wonderful place, and I love visiting and I love being involved. I'm involved a little, and we can talk about that. But before we do that, let's go back to the museum and describe now what exactly is in the museum.
Well, right now, we have the tail end of an exhibition. But prior to that, a couple of months ago, we had an exhibition, a Black History exhibition, where it was so awesome. We had a group called Bowl Society, Frank Bowl from New York City. Make a long story short, I was introduced to him by another artist, and we decided I love promoting young people. And so his mission is actually to develop art and artists, produce and develop young art and artists. So the method to his madness was to actually come out to interview me. And what he does a series of interviews of Black artists and arts and, Black artists and museums who are run by African-American people. And he goes back and shows them to his students to encourage them that, there are people of color that are in the art field. And so when he came out to interview me, we had such a great connection. And I asked him, I said, I love, love, love to promote the young people. Why don't we do an exhibition with the young people? So we had a wonderful exhibition, and it was basically based for school tours. We had private schools come in, we had Hayground School come in, and I was so excited. She actually came in, she met with me over the summer, and she wanted to come in. And when she came in and met with me, she literally came in and spent 3 hours or more in the museum for me to find out she was actually writing a curriculum, a Pacific curriculum from our museum for her students. And her students came in 2 days, 2 Mondays in a row. We had such a wonderful, wonderful tour with them. I was still away, but I was able to come live online, and I greeted them and met them. And then also we had a lot of the Southampton schools come in and do tours. Even some of the social studies teachers came in as well. So it was great. We had a great time a couple of months ago with that exhibition.
And that sounds wonderful. And no question, the young people and future generations are our future, and we must provide opportunity for them, just the way you had the young artist on exhibit and you had young people coming in to see what they were doing. I think it gives the young artist a platform, and it shows young people who come to see the work that there's opportunity for them. So my hat off to you, and thank you for doing that. I think it's very, very important. Now, Brenda, you have a very, very active schedule of events coming up in the spring and then summer of 2024. What do you have planned? And if you want, you can start with what you just did for Black History Month, February 2024, and then go into some of the things that you have planned, because I know this audience wants to hear.
Right. The other thing that we did a Hampton Civil Rights cell phone tour, and that was in January as well. And that's still online. You can go online and actually have that tour. It was through the Travel Society. It's a travel story company. And so fast forward, we had that. We had a great exhibition up until March. I think that it's still up. I think this exhibition is still up until the end of March. And then moving forward, we're having our opening for the season on Memorial Day weekend. We have a wonderful artist that's going to be in the exhibition there. Matter of fact, it's going to be his first solo exhibition. And again, I met him through the exhibition we had over the winter, and he was really good, and he never had a solo exhibition. So I said, this is your chance now. I'm going to give you a chance to have your own solo exhibition. So that's going to happen as the opening for our season. And then Juneteenth, that's our annual event celebration. And that's going to be June 15th, Saturday, June 15th. And we have Yakuba and his band. He's an African gentleman from Africa who plays a kora instrument. And then we have African drummers. So that's going to be our entertainment. We generally have our Juneteenth barbecue, and a lot of people can come and do more tours. We'll have that exhibition up. And then moving forward, July 19th, we're doing a collaboration with the Southampton Art Center and Art Soul. And Art Sims is actually a gentleman who does if anybody knows Spike Lee and his movies, Art Sims does all of his posters for him. So we're having him there, and we might have a surprise, but we're having an event there at the Southampton Art Center. And then the next day, we have another opening exhibition with Alvin Calvin. He is actually an awesome, awesome artist. And so we're having his opening reception. It's going to be fantastic. And then moving forward in July, we always have our annual fundraising event, which I'm so honored to say that Jean is a part of that. And she's been so instrumental in helping us with that. But we don't have the date yet, but we'll have it soon.
Very important. And how can the community help you?
Right now, it'd be great to have some volunteers for the summer. Sometime I could use some volunteers, because really at this point now, we're really looking to hire at least one person to help, maybe assistant executive director. Also, you can come and do tours. You can spread the word of this wonderful museum. And also you can donate as well. You can go to our website, www.saamuseum.org, and donate. And we welcome any amount is accepted, and all are welcome. I always want to express that all are welcome to our museum.
And for our audience, we are with Brenda Simmons, and she is the executive director and founder of the Southampton African-American Museum, based in Southampton, New York. Brenda, what advice would you give to, say, leaders in other communities who want to open up a museum similar to yours? It was a big undertaking, and you being a woman you worked in government, you worked for a mayor for many years, and very bright woman. What advice do you give to people who might want to do what you did?
I think, looking back on my journey, I would say is really important to collaborate. That's one of the things I'll say. And also it's very important, obviously, to get financial support, whether it's government, whether it's individuals. I think that's very, very important, extremely important, because even as I speak, that's one thing as founder that's very, very important for me is the sustainability of the museum. I've heard so many people who have started businesses and museums, and unfortunately, they're sitting there with no one there and, it's closed. So I will never let that happen to the Southampton African-American Museum, and I know Jean won't either. And so I would also advise to really get as much as you can, get the community, and not just a specific community. Make sure everyone is welcome. I think that's really important. You can never close the door and say, we just do this for these people, and we just, that can't happen. It has to be everybody is welcome. So basically that's, and also obviously I'm thinking about when I first started, I had all this compassion to do this, but I really had to find out how to do it. So I think it was National Trust, Preservation Trust. They had a lot of workshops where they actually paid for my transportation and lodging. So I traveled throughout the country doing workshops and getting information and getting understanding of how to run a museum. So that's one thing I definitely would also suggest as well, is to make sure you have all the information you need to properly run a museum.
All very good advice. And obviously it was a great deal of work for Brenda Simmons, but Brenda Simmons managed to create a wonderful museum. And I want to thank you, Brenda, for doing that. Now, I want to ask you a little bit about you. I would imagine you'll be written up in many history books for this work you've done. How do you feel about that?
It's funny, Jen. Why am I getting ready to have tears in my eyes? Wow. I'm a very humble person, and I never really think about or thought about what I've done. But I have to say, doing all these interviews and people asking me and me hearing what I've accomplished, I humbly say it just makes me very proud. Wow. To know that I'm leaving a legacy in the village of Southampton.
Wonderful. And Brenda, to the young people living in Southampton from all backgrounds, what advice do you give to them if they want to create a strong future for themselves?
I've been asked this question a lot lately, and one thing I actually just did an interview on a local radio station here in the Caribbean, and it was on a Teen Talk show, and that's one thing that they asked me. And I was also asked this during January, February, when I did the Black History program. And I want to say to young people that a lot of young people need to really dig inside, and they have so many gifts and talents that they're sitting on that maybe they don't even know about. And I also feel that parents need to help their children when they see their children have an inkling or interest in something, dive into it. My granddaughter was, she loved art. I took her to museums. I gave her art stuff. She graduated from FIT and she's working in New York City making six figures. So it makes a difference when you can notice a young person. And young people, sometimes things are inside of you and you have a talent, you have a gift, and you want to explore it, and maybe you're shy or you're ashamed. Well, Google some information and start connecting with other, peers that are maybe feeling the same way, and you'll be empowered to go forth. And I always say, universe is waiting for you. The universe is waiting.
That's beautiful advice. And I always say to people who are just beginning, very young, believe in yourself. You'll have to work hard to achieve. Hard work is required. And then be an honest person. Also be a nice person, because people like to do things for nice people. If they can you're a hard worker, good person, nice person, well, your reputation will precede you. You'll get
Absolutely.
promoted and you'll move ahead.
That is so true, Jean. That is so true. And I think that's, to be honest, you asked me how I feel about where I am now. I think that has been why I am where I am and how I've gotten the help and the prosperity of the museum the way it is, because I treat people the way I want to be treated. It's so, and people can feel your spirit when they meet you, they know when you're real and when you know they're not real. And especially young people, especially.
And you've worked very, very hard and you've accomplished a lot. And really, I can only say positive about what you've done. And it's so important for communities around the world because you serve as a role model. Wasn't easy to start this museum. You pursued, you persevered, and it became a reality and an important reality. And you are a true role model. Finally, we have just a few minutes left. What would you like to leave us with?
Wow. Let me see what I want to leave you with. I want to leave you with perseverance, determination, love for the community, love for people is extremely important to me. And I think it should be one of the things that brings us all together. Love is just love, and is nothing more important than love, and to do the right thing for everyone, and also to be good to yourself.
All very good advice. Brenda, you've been a wonderful guest. For those watching this show who want to get involved with the Southampton African-American Museum, perhaps you want to volunteer, maybe you want to donate. There are many different ways you can get involved. Once again, what is the website and who answers? Will you answer them? I'm sure you will, but what is the website for donations and then for people who want to volunteer?
The website is www.saamuseum.org, and the location is 245 North Sea Road in Southampton, New York. And you could also email me at bsimmons@saamuseum.org.
Wonderful. And Brenda, I know you're not in the United States right now. I want to thank you for joining us today on Successful Philanthropy. You've given a lot of information. You've been a wonderful guest. And I wish you a great spring moving forward. I'll see you soon, I hope. And thank you very much. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Our guest today, Brenda Simmons. She's the executive director and co-founder of the Southampton African-American Museum. I'm Jean Shafiroff, your host. I'll see you next week.